I can see you too. Although I see the giant sun coming into your face on the right.
Yeah. So, how you doing? Long time no see.
I know, I know. I know the last time was at our reunion, right?
Yeah, yeah. You know, you look just like you were ages ago. You don't seem to age very good. That's good.
Well,
I like that usefulness.
it's better than the alternative, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, my hair is getting a little bit more gray, you know.
Oh, mine too, but I can do something about that as a
Yeah. That's a good thing about being a woman, isn't it?
I know, yeah. But anyway, well, great. So where are you calling in from?
I live in Overland Park, Kansas.
I love it. I think we found that out because I think I told you before that my daughter married a guy from Leawood.
Oh yeah, all right, okay. Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's right around the corner from us, about 5 blocks away is Leawood.
And let's see, the last time I was in Overland Park, I was working in the advertising business and we were opening up an Irish Mexican restaurant called something like Carlos and Luigi's or Carlos and somebody. Anyway, I'm sure it's no longer there, but live in a beautiful spot of the world, that's for sure.
Yeah, it is. You know, I used to work for Charles Schwab. I worked for them for 10 years. And here's a funny story. My last assignment, I saved Charles Schwab $1 billion.
Oh my God.
What I developed a program to say, if you're a broker, you sign on the dotted line, oh, I will never take any of my clients along with me when I leave my job. Right. Well, imagine this was in 2009. Schwab's been in existence for a good 30 years, and they never had any mechanism put in place. No. So I, my manager, and the lawyers came and said, Richard, we got to do something about this. So anyway, I spent some time and I put it into production. And the first month, one guy tried to take $150 million of assets from Schwab to another broker. So anyway, to make a long story short, I get a letter from my email from the lawyer said, you just probably saved Schwab over $1 billion this year. Now here's the clincher. Anybody who worked on, this is 2009, anybody who worked on that project got laid off?
Oh my gosh.
You learn, I've learned over the years, you can't cry over spilt milk. For me, it was just kind of, to this day, I kind of laugh because one hand didn't talk to the other hand. I was working with people in Denver, Colorado, San Francisco, Indianapolis, and Austin, Texas, and Orlando. So they didn't know, exactly, who was working on this. But ultimately, anybody, so that's life.
And so is that the reason why you got to Kansas?
Yeah. So here's another funny story. So I was off work for 2 weeks. Somehow, word spread, and I get a phone call from the USDA in Kansas City. And they asked me, do you want to do a phone interview? I go, yeah, sure. I don't know how they got my name. So I did the interview, and then half an hour later, my wife Barbara says, you got the job. I go, what job? She says, oh, well, email just came in, from the USDA. And my wife's family is from Kansas City. So this was, perfect timing for us. So that's how, and this was 2011. So that's how I'm here.
Unbelievable. Wow. What a story.
Uh-huh.
So you got out of, so then where'd you go from there?
Well, I've been here since 2011. So I worked with H&R Block. I did like 3 or 4 years with the USDA. I was doing like farm mapping software, for if you're a farmer, let's say, all the farms in the States, including Hawaii and Alaska and Guam and Puerto Rico, we have a representation of all their farms. So we actually have photos of their farms, and it's all on a map. And they have like track numbers. And so the farmer says, they go to the USDA and said, well, I'm gonna transfer this 100 acres instead of corn. I'm gonna do soybeans. And so then they have a vast, huge record, of how many millions of acres are corn or soybeans. And then the farmer can see a actual representation of his entire farm. So a lot of these are, thousands and thousands of acres. So you could zoom in and zoom out. So I did that for about 3 years. And unfortunately, I found out by working for the government, there's called government shutdowns. I'm sure we. So I got involved in about 3 or 4 government shutdowns over the years. Once again, I am so glad that my attitude towards life is to take it easy. Don't, I could have, had ulcers.
Yeah. You can't fight the things you can't control. That's right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now I am officially retired. Retired in now I'm more busier than ever, doing things that I want to do, not, going out in the corporate world and performing things. So.
Good for you. Yeah. Well, you've deserved it for sure. But staying is really important.
Yeah, exactly. I was 35 years in the software industry. I worked everything from the observatory in Maui. I built like a dome automation program. I imagine this was Boeing was working with the Air Force, and we were tracking satellites in the sky. And so we had, so when a pass happened, we had to be right on. So imagine we had a guy in a snowsuit at 2 o'clock in the morning, 10,000 feet up, and it's freezing up there, absolutely freezing. And so they had a tendency to nod off and to fall asleep. And their job, they had a switch, and they had to move the dome clockwise or counterclockwise so the telescope could be pointing, in the sky. So that and each time, that the dome operator dozed off, there was a huge fine from the Air Force because he had to be up and running. So that they said, Richard, we got a problem here. You got a month in order to solve this. So in a month, I solved it where it was totally automated, and I did so well that my boss says we're going to do it. We had another dome, another observatory next door, so we automated that. So.
Wow, what a history! Good for you.
Yeah. And I heard you've been doing advertising, huh?
Well, I was. I mean, that was my career, and then I did that in 2007 when I sold the company. I had a business partner, and we had about 40 employees, and so it was a good life. It was a real high stress thing, but it was I loved it, and that's all I knew what to do. So I started off on the McDonald's account, working for another big firm up in Los Angeles after I graduated from college. And then from there, I went to work for Jack in the Box. I guess I started to have a specialization in fast food. And then a job in Orange County opened up. And my husband, oddly enough, got a job offer literally the same day for a job in Newport Beach. So I thought, oh my gosh, this is a gift from God. I get to move back home. He was from San Marino out by Pasadena. So that brought me back to Orange County, and we've been in Newport Beach ever since and raised our 3 kids here and both had our careers here. And Yep. And now we are really enjoying life. He still is working, but I'm like you, doing busier than ever, but doing just the stuff that I love and whatnot. And we just made a move to Corona del Mar, where we bought a little condo right on the Bayside. and we've shrunk our footprint by about 60% and are learning to live with 3 storage units. And I'm motivated at this point to go and sort and get rid of stuff. But sadly, the move happened right as COVID started.
Oh
And
my gosh. Oh,
so
wow.
I know our home sold, and the people that bought it quickly said, oh, no, 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 we don't want the 30-day escrow that we signed up for. We want an 8-day escrow. So we were like, holy moly, we've been in our home for 20 years and raised our kids. We have just far too much stuff. How are we going to do this? And my husband said, if we don't do it, they may rescind on their offer. So the 2 of us, our children wouldn't have us because they were afraid of COVID, and the hotels shut down. Our condo, which was under remodel, was not ready to move in. Anyway, it was crazy. And hence that's why we had to put so much in storage. But the sad thing is, I couldn't even go and donate stuff because Goodwill shut down, the thrift shops shut down. Anyway, it was crazy, but
Oh gosh.
we're finally a little bit settled and very comfortable. Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh.
I know, that's it. So we have 2 grandchildren, a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and one coming maybe in 2 weeks. I just.
Ooh, oh nice. Yeah, I see that. What's the name of one on Facebook? I see all the time. Your granddaughter, one with the glasses.
Yeah, little Malone.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah, and she's the one whose other grandparents live in Leawood.
Okay. All right. Oh, cool. Okay.
Back and forth quite a bit to you guys. Yeah, to see that family. Yeah, and then she has a little brother, Franklin. So, but it's our oldest son, Jack, who is having a baby any day now. So.
Oh, so Jack's after your dad's name.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And how's your brother Scott?
He's great. He married a sorority sister of mine, Karen, and they lived in Texas for many, many years. And just 2 years ago, they decided to come back to California, and they're living down in La Jolla in San Diego County.
Oh, okay. Oh, good. Huh.
And they have one son who is, just a fabulous kid and is getting his master's degree right now. So, yeah.
Yeah, the only member of your family I never met was your mom.
You're kidding.
Yeah, I never met your mom. Yeah, I know that was. Each time, I went to your house a couple times. I remember your dad. He was wearing, the cowboy hat. And I'm coming to your dad. We, still to this day, all our friends, who went to the ranch. Oh my gosh, it's like it'd be like a Christian receiving the keys to heaven. That was what it was like. Even to this day, I've surfed all around the world. That is by far the best surfing break in the world, by far. Oh my God! And just the scenery of it. Can imagine. John and I just think we were sophomores. And we drove our parents' Mustang, to the ranch, and we went in there, and imagine having thousands of poppies all over the place in total bloom, and we didn't know, the surf spots. We had this book, it's a surfing book, and they had about all the surf spots in California, and so they talked about each break, and so. We would say, hey, well, this break looks like this one in the book. So and virtually we were all by ourselves. No houses were there, just pristine environment.
Yeah.
At nighttime, you look at the stars, and it was like, thousands and thousands of stars. Oh my God. Those memories, are, I each time I remember it, it's just like I was there, almost, I guess 50 years ago.
Yeah, as I remember, so when my dad did that transaction, we would go up there every once in a while. And I just remember going through, the gates to get in there, and the locks and the this and that and the other. And, it was the Hollister family that owned that property.
Yeah.
They, as I remember, it was just the Hollister family home on that ranch. And we got to stay in it, you know, on several occasions. And on a couple occasions, my dad would bring in some horses and we would just, like you say, ride on that pristine, gorgeous, gorgeous oceanfront, unbelievable property.
Uh-huh.
And and the train, you know, ran right
Oh, yeah,
through.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, but you know, Ricky, I mean, to share that, as I've told you before, I mean, for my dad to share that experience with you and some of the other guys, I mean, it brought him so much joy because he knew in his heart that you guys had such respect for the land, for the universe, for the ocean particularly, and of course for family and just in regard for what that responsibility was. And he just got such a kick out of the fact that you guys had that, you know, that experience lives on with you today. So
Yeah. Of course, you know, I always thought after that I was a member of the Caldwell family. Both John and I feel like that, you know. You know, I imagine, you know, today, if a father would allow two teenagers, 16 years old, you know, to go to a place like that, you know, there's a lot of, you know, responsibility, not only, you know, for myself, you know, and my brother, to make sure, you know, that we you know, definitely we're in total, what's the, I guess, on, you know, being integrity. I guess I would say integrity. You know, we realize at that time, this is a blessing you don't get all the time, you know.
it's so interesting that you should say that you felt like you were a member of the Caldwell family after that. That was something very unique about my dad. I mean, he was an amazing read of people of all ages, you know, even like when we had our children early on. I mean, he could tell immediately what that child was going to be like as a grown-up just by their sense of heart and what have you. But my sister and I often used to joke because when we would bring friends into our home, like you guys, we felt like he treated our friends better than he treated us. He fell in love with our friends.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I think maybe too, part of that was he loved to mentor. He loved to give people adventure and to learn from that. And, you know, to kind of vicariously learn, you know, through you and Johnny's experience of what it was like to be a surfer on the ranch, you know, that kind of things really just, you know, gave him some internal growth, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember seeing a Facebook post from Carrie Dalybout, and she talked to your father the same way. You know, you know, I never talked to Patty about it. I'm sure, you know, Patty would feel the same, you know, exact thing.
Yeah. 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 So anyway, yeah, he was an amazing, amazing man. So I'm just grateful that you and Johnny have that memory.
And one thing I like about in that message, you use two words which I don't hear too much, especially during these days: ponder and inquiry. Those words, unfortunately, I think, you know, if our society would just stop and think, just even for a fraction of a second, we would be in a lot better place. You know,
that's true. It's just too screaming fast and reactionary.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
As kind of times, you know, I think most of humanity, we're human doers, not human beings. You know, if we would just be, just for a fraction of a second, you know, someone says something, okay, maybe it pisses you off, but if you just stop in your tracks, just for a fraction of a second, you know, and that's all it takes. You know, don't take it personally. You know.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah,
and be. I mean, Rob and I always talk about you know, we're just relatively new in being grandparents, and what a wonderful, wonderful realignment grandchildren have given us. And it's just that, you know, when we are with them, there's nothing else happening in the world. I mean, we are just
right.
In that, you know, amazingness of, you know, what is happening in their little world. And we could care less how much time passes, what have you. The saddest thing is when we have to return them to their parents. Unlike so many people that we know they say, oh, the best part of being a grandparent is you can give them back to their parents. And we say, no, let us keep them.
Because, I think that is when you really enjoy life, which I can tell you and your husband do, you realize how precious it is, and how precious, these little ones are,
Yeah.
I mean, just think, those little ones came from either your daughter or your son, so they're part of you.
Yep.
And I think the further a person gets divorced from life, and really expecting life, that's when they think it's more like a duty, something that has to be done, like can hardly wait, to bring them back to their parents, because they themselves aren't comfortable inside their own skin.
Sure. Yep. I know. And it's interesting too that when you said that when you came over to the house, there was my dad, dressed like a cowboy. And I mean, he really was. I mean, he was just in a way kind of a Renaissance kind of guy in a lot of ways. And I can remember at some point, sometimes I would get a little bit embarrassed because Dad loved to dress in costume, so when he was a boater, he looked like the epitome of boaters, right?
Yeah.
And then when he was a cowboy, he was just well suited for everything. And then when it was time to be at the opera, I mean, he would have, special things made, or when he was whatever, and then of course, his everyday business life. But our youngest son, his name is Max, and I'm not kidding you, he had a wonderful relationship with my dad. But he is kind of the same way. I mean, he's a cowboy. He's a boater. And he's always dressed in costume.
Oh my gosh.
I get such a kick out of that. Yeah. But in that case, the apple didn't fall too far from the tree, even though it's a couple generations separation. Yeah.
I talked to my brother yesterday and told him I was going to have this. And I reminded John, that in 6th grade, your family was going to go to Europe for a month, and you got out of school a month early. And so then I said, John, you remember that? He says, yeah, I wasn't in the class, but both of us were totally envious, that Joyce was going to go to Europe. School was going to end in a month. And get this, I never asked you in all those years. It's always been, that's why I put it in that mess. It's always been in the back of my mind, because I'm a curious guy. As you can kind of see. I wrote this book, Family and Friends, and I talked about 540 people. Said, and for me, I think there's a web of life that ties this all together. Here it is. We haven't been in contact with each other for literally, for years, and yet, when we both sit down, it's just like we carried the conversation just like yesterday.
I know. That trip was so interesting because when my parents came up with this idea, they had to go to the superintendent of schools to talk to him to find out if we could, if they could take us out of school for such a long period of time. And they did, get the approval to do that, although we did have to keep up with all of our work studies for, every single subject at that time. So I remember traveling with this heavy backpack, of books and, paperwork and whatever. And, at nighttime, my parents would go out to dinner into some, nice place, and the kids would call room service and do our homework. So,
oh my gosh.
And we would be, in Munich or, Salzburg or some beautiful place. But anyway, it was a rare, actually they did it twice. We went in high school as well for a month, a different time of year. But, it was kind of a unique thing to do at that time. Very few Americans were traveling, let alone traveling with a family, of three children. So
yeah, our parents took us a year before.
They
to
do.
Europe. Yeah, but this is during summer. It wasn't,
Yeah.
but even still, that kind of instilled the love of travel. I think I got that from my mom. My dad wasn't too much of a traveler. He was more of a homebody. But my mom, yeah, she definitely instilled into me just the joys of going to a different country and learning about their culture and respecting the different places all around the world.
Yep. Yep.
But,
I know.
but
Same thing. It's just, it really, put that adventure bug in me, and my brother and my sister all have retained that. Yeah.
yeah.
We were really lucky to have that exposure at such early ages.
Yeah, but most definitely.
Yeah.
So what do you like to cook? For me, I love ethnic cooking.
I know.
Yeah.
I read about you liking that ethnic cooking. I like to eat ethnic cooking.
I like to eat.
It's so funny because I used to love to cook. I still love to entertain, but not so much that it has to come out of my kitchen.
Yeah.
I guess, being a working mom and raising our children, I guess I had to take the easy route on so many occasions just because there wasn't enough time and the passion, I couldn't spread the passion around.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do, my husband Rob loves Italian food. So we cook a lot of pasta, now a lot of salads, kind of more simple food, Mediterranean diet, try to
Yeah.
keep it simple. But I'd love to come to dinner sometime at your house, Ricky.
Yeah. Whenever you come to Kansas or vice versa, I can come to your kitchen and cook.
Yes, I have everything you could possibly need.
Yeah. I got my love from my dad because that was his hobby. So imagine by the time I was 5 years old, I had almost every inconceivable cuisine known to man. Especially growing up in Southern California, whenever a new ethnic restaurant would open, whether it's in Orange County or LA County or San Diego, we would drive up to these places, and our whole family was totally into what's the next cuisine we can learn about.
That's so fantastic. So what's your favorite thing to cook?
I think my favorite food is probably Indian food. Especially since I spent time in India. Here's what I like. I think Indian food kind of reminds me of food. Well, let's say compared to most restaurants, when you go to a restaurant, it's good food, but there's a thing, they're cooking for money. Have you ever been in the back room where they make it? There aren't too many happy campers. There's a lot of anger going in their food, and so then when I was in India, I learned, so they cook like the Lord Himself is going to come for dinner. That's how much love, So when a mother, makes a meal for her family, she puts all her heart and soul into the cooking. So personally, I think the best food I ever had is from families, especially from moms, cooking for their children, and so that's a type of awareness. So cooking isn't just for the nutritional value, but it's also for the conversation, the heart-warming feelings, and it's a whole incredible art, which I'm sure you're aware of.
Yeah, I know. It's so true. You ought to open up your own restaurant inside your home, much like the Cubans do.
Oh yeah. I've had at times, I've done like 20-course Indian feast, for 200 people. I've done that before in New York City. I used to have a vegetarian catering company in New York City. So I would, back then, I imagine having Greek food or Mexican. When I was in Mexico, in New York City, living in the 70s, they only had one Mexican restaurant in New York City at the time. Now, of course, there's probably thousands. So,
Yeah.
and I've had like my own bakery in Mexico. I did like the Mexican bakeries is totally different than American bakeries.
Yeah.
So I would do American, like bread and brownies and stuff like that. And then I did a twist. I would also do European, and I would do Middle Eastern. So I did stuff like, there's a lot of Middle Eastern people there. So I would do like baklava and cigar pastries.
Oh my gosh, so what city was this in?
Mexico City. This was when Mexico City was safe. This was in the I lived there for 2 years, 73 to 75.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I was probably there. Well, I was in Mexico City. It would have been, oh my gosh, in the late 60s. Yeah. So,
great people. I love the Mexican people.
I do too. I do too. Yeah, and talented. I mean, such talented people on so many levels. Yeah. Wow. Good for. Is there anything you haven't done, Ricky?
Well, one thing, my human body, I can't. How's that? I can't drink at all. You know that?
Well, I'll do it for you.
Yeah, and drugs too. All my friends, back then were. My body was so sensitive, to anything external that it just. I think you maybe that's why I love to meditate, because that is my socialization for myself. I get in when you're calm and you relax, which alcohol does, it makes you nice and relaxed. There's communication, there's heart-to-heart feeling, but my body is not made for that. It just.
How about, is Johnny the same way?
John's the same way. Yep. You both of us are the same way.
Interesting.
Yeah. So everybody has a different chemistry.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I respect it. Everyone's chemistry. We're all different, right? But also at the same time, we're all the same.
I know.
Yeah. I'm sure we might have different viewpoints, in life, different ways to look at it, because that's how we're brought up. But yet, that the essence is the same. Sure. We can carry it, heart-to-heart communication, which it's all about. Diversity, isn't it? Diversity.
Yep. That's makes the world fun. Yep.
Imagine if the whole world was like a Richard. It would be boring.
Oh, I don't think so. Are you kidding me? Talk about Renaissance man. Woo!
but even be boring in my eyes. I think my parents instilled in that, and I'm pretty sure your parents, your dad most certainly, that he saw that the uniqueness in people and helped brought that out and respected that.
He totally did. Sorry, I keep calling you Ricky, but you will always be a Ricky to me.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's endearing.
But you're absolutely right. Growing up in our family where we had, 2 girls and a boy, that could not have been, all 3 of us, more different. And my dad absolutely, not that he promoted I want to say not my wildness, but just my sense of maybe breaking a few rules, if you will, and kind of crossing the line. He saw that there was value in that to some degree. Now, obviously, you're not going to get yourself and hurt yourself or break the law in a big way or whatever. But he was always so supportive of an individual's uniqueness, and thought that uniqueness, there was, at the end of the line, there was going to be something special that, was an outcome for that. But yeah, he was always very supportive of people being an individual, not the conformity, was not always the right thing. So,
yeah.
Didn't want, he always used to say, life will not be equal, but it will be fair.
Yeah, yeah, right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not that that is in support of that uniqueness, but yeah, he was always very welcoming to
Mm-hmm.
somebody that, was not in the little box.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I see that, especially from you and your dad. You thought outside the box. Sometimes I say rules are meant to be broken. Not all rules, but in society, especially when you're young, you have to do things out of the ordinary. I mean, I admit maybe I took at times to the extreme in terms of like. When I was 18, to think about now, my daughter, when she was 18, that I hitchhiked from France to India with my surfboard.
No, and that your parents let you do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I thought my parents were supportive, letting Carrie Dale about and me backpack through Europe at 17, But in the part of the world where you were, where there were no cell phones, no nada, no nothing,
Yeah.
and, and probably you were much more language challenged.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, talk about being foreign, everything from the food to the way people dress to the way people look. I mean, you really, oh my gosh.
But from those travels, I learned so much. Like, for example, when the Russians invaded, Afghanistan, first thing came to my mind was, oh, you guys have no idea what you're into. Oh my gosh. When I was there, they're the most friendliest people on the face of the planet. But yet, ever since Genghis Khan, people have tried to conquer Afghanistan. So they're the most warrior-like, that you don't want to mess with them. So that was the first thing that came to my mind. And the Russians, they learned their lessons.
That they didn't counsel you.
At times I thought I would make an excellent diplomat because I can read the mindset. I mean, even right now of how the United States is treating, our allies. Sometimes I think, because of my travels, I really have a unique perspective on how to be a diplomat in order to even to convey a message that they may not like, but to convey a message where it's a win-win situation. I think I've been very good at in my life, to be.
Well, don't give up on that idea.
Yeah,
we'll go back to being working for those government jobs, and hopefully there won't be a layoff.
Yeah, I wrote a book about a year ago, Conscious Politics. And this is my theory of how politics should be. It should be a nation that is governed by kindness, by patience, tolerance. There should be no bullying, no putting people down, no divisiveness, divide a country. After all, we are the United States of America, and state, for me, is a state of mind. Mm-hmm. And
yeah,
I don't have to.
No different than maybe the way an individual should live their life.
Exactly.
Yep.
One and the same.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, in my eyes, your dad would have been an incredible president. If he went that route.
Yeah, I know. He had a lot of qualities that he was he was like you. I mean, he was an amazing read of people, but everything, the overarching and foundational, the thing was love and kindness. I mean, it was really respect the people for who they are, not for who you want them to be.
Yeah. And that's unique, especially during this time.
Yeah. So,
but I have hope. I don't think I ever will give up hope, for our nation or for humanity. It's going to it takes a while. I don't think anyone ever gets a free ride. I don't think this is the first time around. if you have a universe that's over trillions and trillions of years old, I mean, just think, logistically, and there's, like scientists who say there's 10 to the 28th power of universes, 10 to the 28th power. So we're just,
Yeah. No. Uh-oh. I think we're cut off.
Oh no, it's just, no, they don't cut us off. Yeah, but anyway, that's why I have hope. That there's a dream. I think all dreams can come true, and will come true. But it's 2 steps forward, right? 1 step backwards.
Yep.
And what would it be? A journey would be. Imagine if all your life nothing went wrong, nothing, everything went perfectly. It wouldn't be too good, would it?
I know. It's really interesting. Of course, and I rewind in my life and whatever, and I think of the times that we hit the valley, and you're just going, oh my gosh, I would never want this to happen to anybody else. This is so awful. But there's always a silver lining.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
And just embrace that, and as you say, it's all about here, right?
Yeah.
You have a choice. We have every day we have a choice to wake up happy or sad. And but you're right. I mean, if everything was perfect, we probably wouldn't have done a lot of the things that we have done in our lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we'd probably be too proud of ourselves. Nothing ever goes wrong. We'd be, we have a lot of ego. Oh, look at me. Nothing ever goes wrong. Yeah. But when I was young, I never would have realized that. I think by going through the journey, then we come to that wisdom.
I know. I feel sorry for the people that really, I don't know, life is so precious, and that, we've been fortunate, meaning you and I collectively, to, have seen the world, done a lot, come in contact with a lot of people, obviously have the family that we've had that, has given us so much. It's overwhelming. And I feel bad for people that have really just kind of had a sedentary life out of their own choosing.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially now, can you imagine being in college and can't go to school, being online. I think college, a lot of it's a socialization, more so than the education. The people you meet and the journeys, with people.
Exactly. I mean, it's what develops you to the person that you are, is that socialization. And I feel sorry for, with this terrible virus that's going on. I really think that isolation is the worst disease out there. And, it's does terrible things to the mind, does terrible things to the body. We feast off of people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know what the answer is on that either. If we don't isolate, well, yeah, who knows? It's such a complicated subject,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh gosh, I think, and we see battles on both sides.
Totally.
But sometimes I think Mother Nature has sent us all to our room. That's sometimes, worldwide, like that. Because I've been talking to friends all around the world, and the same thing is happening. Their isolation is happening all around the world.
It's for the first time in our lifetime, and like you, we have friends all around the world, and I was talking to my girlfriend who's French, and that we're going through the same things together and have the same worries together and have the same emotions together. Never happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I kind of tend to agree with you, Ricky, in a way, that a stronger force, they felt that we need like a huge worldwide correction here.
Well, it's kind of like, Joyce, I don't think you would ever put garbage in your living room. But basically, this is what we're doing to the planet. We should be sophisticated enough to have the highest technologies to clean this planet up. I think I told you I was brought up in the house of the future. Did I ever tell you about that?
Yeah, well, I've read about it so much and seen that, the articles that I'm really sad that our dads were not buddies.
Yeah, me too. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. Can you imagine the
No,
wonderful this? Oh gosh.
exactly. I was thinking, oh my gosh, I mean, your dad was so ahead of his time in so many, I mean, decades ahead of his time. And in a lot of ways, my dad was too. I mean, they would have really just had some amazing, amazing conversations, I'm sure of it, and a great friendship.
And my dad went to USC.
I did not
Did
know
your
that.
dad go there?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, he went there in the early 60s,
Okay. My dad was a little bit early. He was in the late.
late 50s probably.
No, no, he went there before I was born. So he
Oh,
graduated
okay.
after after the Navy. So
Okay.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Oh,
So
John and I also want to know before you moved to Newport, where'd you live?
so I was born in Burbank,
Okay.
but in a city called Van Nuys.
Okay. Okay.
And then my mom and dad built their first home of the future in a way in a city called Studio City. And I moved into there when I was 5 years old. And then my dad got an opportunity here in Newport with the Macco Corporation. And they were building Cameo Highlands in Corona Del Mar. And so my mom and dad bought one of the homes, and then it was going to be like a beach house, right?
Yeah.
And my dad would come to work here. We were still living in Studio City, and then we'd come down on weekends. And then it just became so obvious that that wasn't going to work, and the better place to live was in Corona Del Mar. So we moved officially to Corona Del Mar when I was, 7 and a half, and that's where I lived until I moved over to Dover Shores.
Oh wow. Okay. Huh.
Uh,
A few days ago, I talked to Chris Dahl, and Chris
oh,
remembers your dad had a swimming partner that they used to swim out into the bay. I forgot what the guy's name was, but
we,
Chris told me to say hi, and he said please remind Joyce that he remembers your dad swimming out to the bay with a swimming partner.
Yep, that's so true. And if you talk to Chris, please say hi to him from me too. And my mom also had a swimming partner, and that was Doug Snyder's mom.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
wow.
they would meet with their bathing caps on in the middle of the, little cul-de-sac of the bay there.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, my mom and dad, they, gosh, almost, completely year round. Didn't matter if the water was 55 degrees or 75.
Uh-huh. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I keep myself in shape. I swim. But I do, once again, I'm a Fletcher, so I do unorthodox workouts. I swim underwater.
Okay, so what does that mean?
So what it is, so I swim up a length, holding my breath, and then I swim underwater back.
Wow.
So,
wow.
We'll get this. I used to exercise when I lived in Oregon for 2 hours a day, and I would not lose a pound. Now, get this. So then I moved to Overland Park, and now my exercise is only 20 minutes, but I swim, underwater.
Wow.
So in a period of a year, I'll lost 40 pounds that way. And here's what I learned. See, by holding your breath, it's like the body has fire. Fire is what speeds up the metabolism. So for myself, holding your breath and doing, and I also did investigation in sports medicine, and that's what they found at the same time, that by holding your breath, it basically creates a fire inside, which speeds up the metabolism, and you lose weight that way. So I discovered this on my own.
Okay, thank you for sharing that with me. I'll be doing that.
And when you do it, you start slow. Never exert yourself. When the lungs say to breathe, you breathe, and you slowly building up. I haven't swam now in 5 months because of this, because our, people here aren't social distancing, that they should. It's mandated that, so basically all my exercise is I take walks, outside my house, but most of it, my exercise is inside my house.
Holding your breath.
Well, I do that, and I'm into, I do yoga every day. I've been doing that for years. And I took up Qigong. I don't know if you heard it. Qigong is kind of like a Tai Chi. And I imagine we have rivers and streams inside our body. And basically, imagine the circulation of your blood is kind of like rivers and streams. And most people, with stress, well, when a person gets angry, imagine this, scientists have even discovered this. Buddha said, by getting angry, you're drinking your own poison. Well, scientists now are actually realizing that. When anger happens, there's chemicals that gets released, stress hormones that gets released, and the average American doesn't even know how to turn it off. So stress, itself causes probably every disease known to man is caused by stress. Fortunately, you don't have to worry about that because you're.
Oh no, I'm a good faker.
well, we all get affected by it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even nobody. Let's just say anger. No one can stop anger. It can happen for a fraction of a second. The adrenaline can flow. But we can control the moments afterwards, because the anger can only last 19 seconds, physically in the body. But most people hold on to it for sometimes all their lives.
Okay, I didn't know about that 19-second factor.
Yeah. That's how, for an animal, if they get angry or fearful, it's 19 seconds, and we have that same kind of chemical makeup. So you can't, ignore it. It happens, but we can do something about the effects. Mm-hmm. So a person who hesitates, doesn't, as you say, ponder. Ponder is a good thing. Good word. We need to add that to our vocabulary. Inquire. That's another good word. That's another word I think human beings need to add that to our vocabulary.
Okay.
and so by doing that, by hesitating, and then and just even feeling peace, even if you don't feel peace, imagine peace, because the mind and body responds automatically, doesn't it? If you're happy, you're not going to have angry thoughts. You're not going to be pissed off. When you're happy, but when you're angry and you're pissed off, you're not going to have happy thoughts either. So I've been in the last, 10 years studying, just because that's my passion. I love to know how everything works. And how to make our lives easier.
Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote a book called Tricks of the Trade. So basically, it was about how we can improve ourselves in all ways. Because this stuff, it should be taught in schools, but it's not.
Uh-huh. Okay. I need to buy The Library by Richard Fletcher.
Yeah. Well, it might be too much, I'll be honest, because I've written 25 books in the last four years.
Oh my gosh, that is so impressive. Wow.
Yeah, I did everything from family and friends. I did fractal fairy tales, which for me, life is a fractal. So I wrote all about my life. I wrote conscious politics. I wrote a book on happiness. I wrote a book on dragon tales, for kids.
Oh.
Here's a little bit synopsis. It's you're a dragon and you're in England. And in England, they all know, that dragons, hoard gold. They're evil. They don't get along with each other. They bicker and they fight. And there's this one young dragon named Zoran, And he was born purely innocent. He loved life. He was a happy-go-lucky dragon. Well, the dragons in that time, they didn't like that. Make a long story short, he gets kicked out of Britain, and he flies with some friends, all young dragons, to Tibet. And so then in Tibet, they learn how to meditate. They transform themselves. They become pure, compassionate beings. And then, one day, two young children, Tibetan children, stumbled into the cave. And they walk into an area of total peace, and they were totally electrified. And they wonder what in the world's going on here. So they see, the dragons meditate, and the dragons wake up, and they thought, oh my gosh, what are we going to do now? But they were the most kind, compassionate beings they ever met. And then the kids say, well, can you teach us, how to be in your state? And they kind of hesitated for a second, because in England, they have dragon killers, dragon slayers. But then they saw the innocence, of the children. So, and then it went on from there.
And the ending was?
The ending is that that was the city of Shambhala. Shambhala was a place where humanity, because in Shambhala, they accepted refugees from all around the world. There's a lot of wars, going on at that time, in China and in Tibet and Europe, so all around the world. So they had a motto: anybody is welcome, to our place, to our country. And they had the most sophisticated technology of their time in terms of they utilized everything, even human waste and urine was turned into energy. Everyone had a home, everyone had modern conveniences. Everyone had like a mansion-like a place where the rest of the world, was living, in chaos, and they used their wisdom and their knowledge from within, to create incredible technologies. So
Wow.
that they had free and perfect energy. So that's
Hey, I'm going to have to get that one for my grandchildren.
So and I'm doing this just for fun. I'm not trying to make any money out of it. I think with experience comes wisdom, doesn't it? And you do wisdom for fun.
I know. Yep. That sage wisdom only comes with age.
You see your grandchildren because you love them,
True. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I know. They're the best. Yeah. Gosh. Well, listen, Ricky, I'm going to have to roll here shortly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Is there anything else that we want to talk about, or we can continue this again?
Well, someday I'd like to meet your wonderful husband. That'd be neat. I've never.
Rob?
Yeah.
We're both working out of the same place. So he's got his office here. I want you to come meet Ricky Fletcher. This is my husband, Rob.
Hey, Rob, how you doing? Hey.
Fantastic. Great to meet you.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about you, and I told Joyce, I've never met him before.
So, are you relation to any of the Fletchers in Pasadena?
Well, actually, that's where we grew up originally in Pasadena. So there was Frank Fletcher, there was, Wilbur Fletcher. We were there, our Fletcher family, was there during the 50s and early 60s.
Yeah, I went to school with, I was San Marino High School grad, and Chris Fletcher and his three brothers I grew up with, and actually their dad bought that house on Bay Island at the very end. I remember being there as a little kid. But yeah, and Chris lived down the street.
Dad's name, do you remember?
I don't remember their dad's name, but there's actually two Fletcher families in our high school. I'm not sure they're first cousins or not, but yeah, we were all we're all in Pasadena, so I wonder, I don't.
Yeah, because we had relatives in San Marino.
Okay, I'm sure it's them.
So,
Yeah,
so when I was a kid, you know, we would go like once or twice a year to
yeah, of
San
course.
Marino.
No, I'm sure you guys are related. Yeah,
Yeah.
neat.
That's funny. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, it has to be the same family. Yeah. So Ricky's in Overland Park, right? You know, right next to Leawood, Kansas.
Oh, really? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been here for since 2011.
Wow. Yeah, well, we're really lucky. We have super down to earth. You know, our daughter's husband's parents and families from Leawood, and they're just lovely Midwest kind. We're very lucky.
Yeah. We became one big family with her parents-in-law as well.
Yeah,
So,
you bet.
So how did you guys meet? Just out of curiosity. You know, Joyce, I'm curious.
Joyce and myself, we actually met. We were both at USC, and there was a thing called Songfest where you did this big theater with a fraternity and sorority. And I played the drums. I was in the band, and Joyce was, dancing on the stage. And we kind of never met the entire year until the last couple of weeks. And then I said, my birthday was last week. And she goes, my birthday's in 10 days. I'm 13 days older than Joyce. My dad said, marry someone close to her age. And Dad thought that was close enough. And so I asked Joyce on a date. First date, I took her to San Francisco. And I asked her to marry me in 9 weeks.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
3 months, because I didn't really want her to know who I was. She would never have married me if she really knew who I was. And then we got married. We've been married for 44 years.
Yeah. Well, talk about intuition on both ends. Intuition.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny, our astrological forecast, what do you call astrological? Our minister was
astrological sign.
Yeah, and so we were Pasadena. Geographically, we were only, a couple miles apart. And then age-wise, only 13 days apart. So we have a lot in common, I guess.
Astrologically,
yeah.
Maybe that's not so good, but anyway, it's lasted the test of time so far.
I can tell you, both of you have happy smiles on your face. That is saying a lot,
Very important. Yeah, it's really important. My book is Attitude is Everything. I haven't written it yet, but my first chapter, Life is a Mirror. What you put out, you get right back. So yeah, it's all about attitude. Yeah.
I'm in alignment with your husband.
I know. That's why when you come here or we go there, we've got to get together, because I think that we, are different in that way, that we really do, share some of those things that are so wonderful yet so basic.
And as they say, common sense is uncommon, right?
Right. That was what Rob's dad. He had those little truisms, and that was the one thing he always said. And isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Yeah, I always used to laugh because my older sister, who's 18 months older than I am, her name is Janice, if you remember. She was, an absolute straight A student, graduated in 3 years, 3 years from the university, 3 years from high school. But she was so smart, but without common sense. And our whole life, I felt like I've always been her bigger sister, because I was constantly doing for her what she would just make these little mistakes.
She turned out to be fine. She's great.
She's great, but she's still, and then she married a guy without common sense as well. They have a really great life too.
They're a great family. Yeah, they're great people.
I never met your sister.
No.
Nope, never. No.
You know why? Because she was very antisocial. She was
a bookworm.
She was a bookworm. She was always in the library or in her room reading. And as a matter of fact, Mom and Dad used to say, "Can you please, Joyce, can't you take her to a party with you or do something?" Because I was always having all this fun, right?
Yeah.
She didn't want the fun. That didn't interest her, But my parents were always worried that she wouldn't get exposed to it. But now, oh my gosh.
She's life and party.
Her life is the light bulb went on, and it was like, gosh. So,
So isn't it kind of amazing? You have two members of the family so completely different, and yet, years later, she blossoms, maybe it took her, 15, 20 years, to blossom, to be, socially open. Where you were socially open, even in 5th grade, I remember that. You're in terms of talking to you, it was you know, back then, because I was shy. I don't know if you realize that.
Yes, I
but,
do realize
but, you know, it was an ease talking to you. You made me comfortable. You know, there were some members of my class, you know, that I wouldn't feel comfortable talking to. So, yeah. That's,
there was a special little
I
simpatico.
need to grab a call, just a second.
Yeah, go ahead. There was a special little simpatico that I think that you and I had with your brother and some of those other guys. You know, we were just really good friends.
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah. Now you keep in contact with a lot of them, Ricky?
I try to, you know, I call like Chris Dahl, you know, 3 or 4 years, and I called Nick. You know Nick Roth? You know, I don't, Nick's a good surfer friend of mine. He went to the ranch a lot with me.
Okay.
He doesn't know you, but each time I talk to him and told him I'm going to have this, he says, you know, please send my regards. Yeah, regardless, you know, if you know him or not, you know, that's what he said. You know, but a lot of people like Mike Morris. I haven't talked to him in ages. Scott Schaefer. You know, I sent him a thing. I was doing a creative project, and basically I went through my 540 people, my family and friends, and I saw how creative so many of these people were. So then I remembered Scott. You know, his dad worked for a studio in Los Angeles. I thought it was Looney Tunes. So I asked, you know, Scott if he could do something in memory of his dad. So he, you know, wrote like a, you know, 5 or 6 Word document. So I have that now in this book. So this is first time we actually, you know, talked in years. So it was great, you know. And he was amazed, you know, how I even remember his dad, you know, in the first place. So it's kind of like the more you get interested in people, and they know that you're sincerely, you know, interested. It's not, you know, BS. You know, you're interested. Yeah. So that opened up, you know, the doors of communication. Okay.
Yeah, that's neat. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I did not know that his dad was in that business. You know, it's funny because, you know, when I don't think I ever knew what anybody's dad really did. I mean, we were just, you know, that, I don't know. It was weird. I mean, I knew if they were a doctor or a lawyer or something like that, just because they had a different kind of a lifestyle. But for the most part, I didn't really know. Like, I didn't know that about your dad until you started to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the same thing with Nick Ross' mom. She was a famous artist. She had art, you know, hung in the National Gallery in Washington, D.C. And you know, as a kid, I would see the art, but I was, I don't know, so naive at that time. I never even asked Nick, you know, who painted that. I didn't discover this until only about a year ago. Yeah, so then in my creative project, you know, Nick was an incredible surfer, so I included him, and then I included some of his paintings from his mom.
Oh, how neat.
So,
wow. Well, I'm sorry you never met my mom. She was equally as amazing as my dad. I mean,
oh wow.
They were in so much love, and, you know, met in high school, and just really, you know, just tender love that was, you know, always shared with the family.
Yeah.
And, but she was obviously the woman behind the man.
So
Yeah.
what was your mom like? I'm curious, because I see all the characteristics, you know, of your dad, but since I didn't know your mom, I'm sure you picked up a lot of those, you know, subconsciously.
She was just a woman of grace and class. And, you know, recognized that my dad was the, you know, the bigger personality and would never do anything to come, you know, to overshadow that. She went to Pomona College at the age of 12 to study music. She was a concert pianist.
Wow.
Yeah. And ultimately then graduated from UCLA. And she was, you know, literally, you know, lived the life of what my dad wanted to live, because, you know, and she just was with him as his sidekick from, you know, took on deep sea fishing as an angler and traveled the world with him and did whatever. She started to get to be a little bit of a cowgirl, but that wasn't really her thing too much once she got thrown off a horse and broke about every rib in her
Oh
body.
gosh, oh wow.
But yeah, she was very loving and highly intelligent and just like my dad, an amazing supportive mom. I mean,
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway. Well, I see Rob just got on his Zoom call
Yeah.
and I've got to get going here, but I would love to, let's do this more. I would just
Yeah,
love
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
This-
What we need to do is have Patty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I'll talk to her today. I see her all the time. She and I, are really very, very close friends and we sail together and,
I wanted to do a talk story with her about the Galapagos Islands.
Oh.
Because I went there in 1969.
Oh, wow.
I was on an Ecuadorian Navy boat. I was there. Nothing was there just like the ranch. Nothing was there. So I kind of want to get, because I remember her perspective on the Galapagos Islands.
Yeah.
So,
she studied marine biology, so she has that scientific perspective on stuff. So I'm also moving my computer closer to a plug because
the batteries, huh?
I see the battery thing going off on me, and I would hate for that to happen. So.
Well, anyway, my love to you and your family. This has been an incredible,
highlight. It's such a great call, Rick. I really, really appreciate it. And as I said, would totally love to, do that again.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Talk to you later. All right.
Okay,
Bye.
love you, Joe. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.